Welcome to a special edition of Books and Authors. I'm your host, Chris O'Donnell. We are on location at Starbucks Coffee from Pineland Station here on Hilton Head Island. My guest tonight has had 15 consecutive New York Times best-selling novels with over 50 million copies in print. His latest novel, Charleston, was just released this week. I'd like to welcome America's history teacher, Mr. John Jakes, to the program. John, welcome.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks very much.
Appreciate you being here. Now, I'd like to start with getting to know you a little bit. I know you divide your time between Connecticut and Hilton Head. How did you come to Lowcountry?
Well, we moved down here longer in the past than I like to remember. Over 25 years. I've lived on Hilton Head longer than I ever lived anywhere in my life. A boss I had in the advertising business before I left it had a villa in Sea Pines, and we were looking for a place to relocate out of snowy Ohio. And he said, well, he said, if you don't like Florida, why don't you come by this little island that my friend Irma Bombeck, the late Irma Bombeck, thought it was owned by the Hilton Hotel Corporation. You know, it was so obscure. It was so obscure at the time. So that's how we got here. I really loved it. We got here in some good weather in March of '77 and stayed.
Now, I understand you're originally from Illinois, Chicago area.
Chicago, yes.
And went to Northwestern University.
For my freshman year, I graduated actually from DePaul, P-A-U-W, not P-A-U-L, not the basketball school in Chicago, but DePaul down in Greencastle, Indiana. That was my undergraduate alma mater. And then I went on to Ohio State for a master's degree.
Now, I understand you started studying acting at first.
Well, I was like, you know, half of America stage struck in high school, and I appeared in plays and that sort of thing. But when I finally sold my first story, I was 18. I'd been trying for 2 or 3 years to sell something. I decided it was a lot easier to go to that mailbox down in the corner from our apartment than it was to traipse all the way to Broadway. So that sort of changed the direction of my interest.
Now, you started in the advertising industry as a copywriter, I believe.
Right. For a large, well, it was called an ethical drug company, as opposed to what, I don't know. But it was a prescription drug company, Abbott Labs in North Chicago, Illinois. I worked there 6 years, and then a variety of advertising agencies. The last one in Dayton, Ohio, and that's where I met that boss who said, try Hilton Head.
And the transition from advertising into full-time author, if you will, tell us how that was, what that was like. That's an interesting transition from I guess a weekly paycheck to...
It was curious because we had a General Motors division as an account in Dayton, and we lost the account for a variety of reasons. I was the number 3 guy in the office. I was the creative director, and I could have stayed. But I happened to know from DePaul, from college days, the guy who was coming in as the honcho for the whole new ad agency setup. He was out of Chicago. Well, how can I put it tactfully? I didn't want to work for him. So I said, all right, I'll go home and I'll try freelancing. And that was in 1970. And it worked out fairly well.
Now, your first set of novels, the Kent Family Chronicles,
right.
Did you have, or could you have anticipated the impact that would have had?
No, wouldn't imagine that. They were intended to be a series of first 5 and then 8. Very modest paperback originals, although the publisher put a lot of promotion money, relatively speaking, behind those books. But no one had ever any idea that they would take off.
Had anything really been done like that before, to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, no. And I happened to be, you know, on the right street corner at the right time. It was the bicentennial era. I had strong feelings about the country, strong positive feelings that I wanted to convey in the books, and it just all seemed to work. And it snowballed. It got bigger and bigger and bigger, and went far beyond what anyone had ever expected.
Now, you followed that up with the North-South trilogy.
Right.
Do you feel somewhat responsible for awakening this country's interest in American history?
Well, I think can tell the story of American history to people who are normally turned off by it. At least that's what I get on my website, is that people write me and say, you know, I hated it in school, I had dull teachers, or I had bad textbooks, didn't care for it at all, but I've gotten interested in history because of what you write, they say in their letters. So I think I sort of reach an audience, the kind of person who, let's say, wouldn't read a nonfiction book about the Civil War. And that's why I take it fairly seriously as an obligation to make sure that each book is as accurate historically as I can make it without spending a lifetime at it. But I've been very lucky. I've not been faulted seriously by any academic, any professor of history. Once in a while I slip up on small, it's usually on small things, but I've not been faulted, and so I like that.
Do you have any special period in American history that you find fascinating? And I'll also preface that with, do you have a period in American history that you find is more prevalent to this country's development than another?
Well,
as far as important.
Answer the second part first. I think the Civil War, which exerts fascination around the world, North and South shows are still running, and they're running in Indonesia, and they're running in Taiwan, places like that. The Civil War is a fascinating period, and probably was the greatest redirection of America in a short time that we ever had. Plus, it was naturally dramatic. Anytime you have cousin against cousin, brother against brother, you're bound to have the ingredients of drama. I happen to like the American West as well, but I don't do much with it because if you write a Western novel, you're immediately categorized as a writer of Westerns, unless you're Larry McMurtry.
I understand quite a bit in Europe, too, if you do.
Yes, yes. So I also like the American West, the whole frontier movement, but I don't spend any time writing about it.
Your novel prior to, when we'll talk about in a second, which is your Civil War espionage on Secret Service.
Right.
It's interesting. Can you draw any parallels between espionage in the 1860s and, say, the 21st century?
Well, the only parallel I draw, it was all dirty business, you know.
That's the obvious one.
Oh, that's right. It was, I must say, at the time of the Civil War, that I wrote about it on Secret Service, it was very amateurish. It was just getting started. There had been, of course, spies, military spies before, but never had there been in this country an organized spy service of the kind that Alan Pinkerton, the famous detective, organized for the Union government at the start of the Civil War. So it was unbelievably comical. There's a sequence on Secret Service in which Pinkerton and his operatives are spying on a famous woman spy in Washington, and there are 4 or 5 of them, and they're all sort of on each other's backs like clowns, you know, like an acrobatic melange with 3 guys and then 2 guys and then 1 guy, Pinkerton, looking in the window. That actually happened. That was how modern their techniques were. Apart from that, there was as much treachery then as I think there is now. I think it's it.
I think the riding on the backs might be pretty much in order today, too. So, now, you're a master of the family saga. Have you used any of your own family in any of your books, or actually used true-life characters to develop your fictional characters?
I never use real people, except I'll take bits of personality from a given person and maybe apply that to a fictional character. There have been a couple of times in the past when I've used people I really despised, but I won't tell you who those are. And they're always so cleverly, I won't say cleverly, but they're always so completely disguised that they never know. But you know, growing up with our 4 kids, Bits of behavior stick in mind, not particularly identified with a given child. Bits of behavior people I see in everyday existence. And I use, all writers do. They pick and choose and they use.
So we're going to take a break right there, but we'll be right back with John Jakes on Books and Authors after these messages.
Dick and Lois Saunders founded RE/MAX Island Realty with one goal in mind: to provide the very best, most convenient service possible to you, the client. Today, as Hilton Head area's only one-stop real estate company, the realtors at RE/MAX Island Realty offer on-site support services: mortgage financing through Columbia National Mortgage Company, full legal services through Peter Wolf & Associates, and insurance coverage through PC&L Insurance Company. Buying property on Hilton Head Island has never been easier.
Inca USA, the Lowcountry's largest supplier of unique handcrafted home decor, is having a store-wide sale. Everything is now 25 to 50% off. Inca's exciting shopping atmosphere is fun for the whole family. With unique gift ideas from around the world, Inca USA's furniture, wooden masks, sculptures, and jewelry offer a wide range of possibilities. 25 to 50% off everything in the entire store. This includes furniture, sculptures, masks, and all other home decor. Inca USA is located next to Bed Bath & Beyond.
Where else can you find the finest food, clothing, entertainment, and fun this close to Hilton Head's finest beach? Caligny Plaza by the Sea is the fun place to be. Start early to hit all the kiosks and shops Caligny by the Sea has to offer. Start your day off right with breakfast or lunch at some of Hilton Head's most popular restaurants. Grab something quick or sit and relax at one of Caligny Plaza's 20 eateries. You're sure to find something to satisfy even the pickiest of eaters. For dinner, enjoy delicious cuisine in a romantic atmosphere, or something simple for the whole family. Be sure to check out some of Hilton Head's finest clothing stores at Caligny by the Sea. Get all decked out in the latest island gear, or pick out something for that special occasion. From swimwear to evening wear, you'll be surprised at how fun and easy it is to dress the whole family. Come find out why locals and vacationers alike say that Caligny Plaza by the Sea is the fun place to be.
She has beautiful eyes. You're either born with them or you're not. And that little V thing at the top of her mouth, it's perfect. And her skin has this glow to it. It's totally natural. She just washes her face and goes.
Last year, Merle Norman taught almost 2 million women how to look and feel more beautiful with a free makeover.
And she says I don't know anything about women.
Come in today for your free gift with purchase of 2 or more Merle Norman cosmetic products.
At the new Pineland Station, there's a jewelry store to remember, featuring ruby, sapphire, emerald, and tanzanite creations. A beautiful selection of gold sea life jewelry, 18-karat platinum and 14-karat gold and sterling silver jewelry, and a large selection of cultured and South Sea pearls. Personalized attention and custom design. It's all yours at Heritage Jewelers in Pineland Station.
WHHI has made finding the perfect restaurant easy. Rather than navigating 278, surfing the traffic circles, or asking the closest stranger where he likes to eat, you can sit back and relax and watch Channel 3 at 6 o'clock each and every night to Discover Hilton Head. Discover Hilton Head is a program dedicated to showing our locals and visitors some of the best places to dine in the Lowcountry. Try some of the very best restaurants around and truly discover Hilton Head.
Homes, lots, villas, and timeshares. You will find them all on the Island Real Estate Tour. Hilton Head Island's only television show dedicated to bringing you the island's finest properties and top real estate agents. Tune in to Channel 3, 9 a.m., noon, and 11 p.m. That's more than 20 times each week. Whether you are buying or selling property anywhere in the Lowcountry, you will see it all on the Island Real Estate Tour.
Welcome back. We're talking with John Jakes. John, let's talk about Charleston.
All right.
The sweeping epic of the Bell family.
Right.
What was the inspiration to select Charleston as the city of focus?
Well, as I said earlier, my wife and I have lived down here for more than 25 years, and after we'd been here about 10 years, we enrolled at the USCB branch here in Hilton Head for one of the courses taught by Dr. Larry Rowland of the history department from Beaufort. And he did, and still does, I think, occasionally, a course on South Carolina from the foundations of the colony till the end of the Civil War. Well, I've got a notebook about yay thick of notes that I made in that course, and I was just knocked out by all of the drama, not to say melodrama, of the history of this the colony that became South Carolina, the state, the pirates that walked the streets of Charleston, the fact that Larry brought out that more Revolutionary War battles were fought in this state than in any other state, and on and on and on. And then, of course, you get into the antebellum period, the pulling away of South Carolina from the nation because of the slave issue, then the disastrous war and the occupation, again, of Charleston after the war. And I knew long ago that it was something I wanted to work into a novel. It just took me a while to find the time to do it and the enthusiasm on the part of the publisher. You always hope to have them on your side. And I convinced them that Charleston would be a good subject. And
so it sounds as though it's almost a regional book too in many ways.
Well, it is, except I don't want to call it that, because I've been at some pains to tell the publisher, I say, don't publicize this as a regional book, because during the period that I wrote about, from the Revolution to the end of the Civil War, Charleston really ran the state, okay? Charleston ran South Carolina, and South Carolina was one of the most powerful influences, for good or bad, in our national history, from the Revolution until Reconstruction. South Carolina history was American history, so I consider this far from a regional book, and I hope it will be seen as just fitting one more piece into the great mural of America that I've been working at in little pieces.
Was the research for this book more challenging or as challenging as your past research?
Yeah, I think it was as challenging. It always is. The research is always daunting. It's especially so, as I noted in the afterword of the book, you know, everything in South Carolina has been documented down to the woodwork, you know, and the molding. And
that certainly helps a writer.
Yeah, that is, but that also has all of these people out there who are waiting to pounce, you know, on the on the factual errors. So I said in the afterword that anyone who discovered something that they thought wasn't right should get in touch via my website or via my publisher, and we'd evaluate all the comments, and if I'm always glad to make a change in the next edition if it's a valid one.
Now the book is extremely vivid in its portrayal of the era. Was there anything that you discovered or anything in your research that was surprising or that you hadn't really found before?
Well, when I got to the, I'm still knocked out by the image of Blackbeard, the pirate, walking the streets of Charleston with the slow matches in his beard lit to scare the daylights out of everybody while his men were out provisioning at the merchants, at the ship chandlers. I've never quite gotten over that, nor have I gotten past the real drama of Francis Marion, the Swamp Fox, this rather ordinary little man who was a brilliant strategist and absolutely terrified the British by galloping in and out of the swamps starting with about 40 or 50 men, and it was the only thing that kept South Carolina from completely going down the drain with the British occupation.
And the book starts in 1720 with the Bell family.
Right.
What was it like in Charleston? You've given us a quick description. What was it like in Charleston prior to the Revolution?
Well, it was, of course, a very small, a very primitive town with streets that were half mud, half oyster shells, rickety board sidewalks. In one of the epigraphs to the first section, it talks about the number of houses that were presentable, and I don't remember the figure offhand, but I think it was around 300. Very small place, 2,000 to 3,000 people. One of the things that always made it interesting and problematic was the fact that so many of the residents were black. And as the years progressed, more and more of them were brought in, more and more Africans were brought in as slaves, and very soon the whites were a distinct minority, and that caused problems.
And the book does follow the slavery question,
Yes.
the abolitionist movement
Yes.
through the 19th century up to the Civil War.
That's right.
Because Charleston was such a focal point for the slave trade,
Right.
was its fate really sealed early on?
I think that's a very good way to put it. Its fate was sealed early on. There was no place in the South more hated. It was perceived as the cockpit of slavery, the state, indeed the city, that tore the Union apart by firing on Fort Sumter. The North was just lying in wait, hoping for the day that the troops would march in, which they ultimately did.
Also seems to be a tremendous class struggle in Charleston, more so in Charleston than many cities in the nation at that point. Is this a pretty true statement? Is it really?
I would say so. People have always said, and Dr. Larry Rowland of the university was the first I ever heard it from, South Carolina was always the most royal of the 13 colonies. It was the most British. It was the most elegant. It had the closest ties to the mother country. Consequently, the class struggle was very strong, although it's ironic that South Carolina as a colony was set up as a haven for religious dissenters, for differences of opinion, especially in religious matters. But as the slave question became bigger and bigger and bigger in the national mind, South Carolina closed in on itself and put up the wall, so to speak, so that outside ideas didn't get in. But it has been a cockpit of division between the classes.
Did the British consider Charleston more of a prize during the Revolution? Hence the battles in South Carolina, the blockade of Charleston?
Well, yes, they did consider it a prize. Also, when they finally came back in the 1780s to start a Southern campaign, they were failing in the North. And that was the chief reason that they came back after their earlier defeat at Sullivan's Island, was that they weren't making it up north.
Now, in reading the book, I couldn't help thinking about The Patriot, the movie that was filmed here a couple of years ago. Is there a historical connection there?
Well, they're both about South Carolina, although that's more fiction than fact. That was, you know, Mel Gibson was supposed to play Marion. That was the original concept, but they found out that Francis Marion was sort of a colorless little guy. He didn't have any lady friends. He didn't get married till he was in his 40s. He wasn't married during the Revolution. So Mel quickly converted to this plantation owner who owned no slaves. They were all just happy African Americans who just happened to be working there. You know, come on. So it was a very entertaining movie, but it was not very good history.
Now, one of your main characters in the book, especially with the abolitionist movement, is Alexandra.
Yes, Alexandra.
Tell us a little bit about her. She's quite pivotal.
Well, she occupies the last 2/3 of the book as the heroine, and she's one of, I like to write about strong women. I think they make wonderful characters. She was really modeled on the Grimke sisters of Charleston, who were actual young women of the city who found that they, in conscience, could not live with the slave system. They both went north. They became Quakers. They became fierce abolitionists. They were also considerably more homely than my heroine. But nevertheless, I sort of modeled Alex after the Grimke sisters, and indeed Alex has a scene with one of the Grimkes early on in which she talks about the slave system.
Charleston, again, most arguably one of the most hated cities during the Civil War.
Right.
Yet didn't receive really Sherman's wrath. A reason for that?
Yeah, well, scholars speculate. They're not sure, but Sherman was stationed early in his career on Sullivan's Island. He was a lieutenant, I believe, at the time. He really liked the city. He loved the people. And there's speculation that that was one of the reasons that he turned aside from Charleston and went to Columbia instead. Also, the fact that he felt that Charleston was already a defeated city, and that to simply go and occupy it, burn it, would not be as productive as striking Columbia, which was then the capital. So nobody's sure, but there's speculation.
We're going to pick it up there. When we come back, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back with John Jakes.
Bosley Real Estate Management is pleased to be able to offer our professional management and janitorial services throughout the South Carolina Lowcountry. Bosley Janitorial Services specializes in providing a top-notch commercial janitorial service. Mrs. Teresa Crum, our Superintendent of Janitorial Services, is known throughout the island for her high standards and spotless housekeeping. Fully insured and bonded, Bosley specializes in protecting your real estate investment.
Let us make you one of our spotless friends.
She has beautiful eyes. You're either born with them or you're not. And that little V thing at the top of her mouth, it's perfect. And her skin has this glow to it. It's totally natural. She just washes her face and goes.
Last year, Merle Norman taught almost 2 million women how to look and feel more beautiful with a free makeover.
And she says, I don't know anything about women.
Come in today for your free gift with purchase of 2 or more Merle Norman cosmetic products.
There's one grocery store on the island that's still a family neighborhood store where friends come to meet and shop. Piggly Wiggly stocks an excellent variety of fresh fruits and vegetables right from the farm. An extensive selection of domestic and imported wines, fresh seafood, and certified Angus beef. Also, don't miss Piggly Wiggly's full-service bakery and deli, offering Boar's Head meats and cheeses. Owned and operated since 1985 by Tony and Jean Poitras, Piggly Wiggly in Shelter Cove Plaza.
One of life's greatest pleasures is enjoying the perfect meal in the right atmosphere with friends and family. The Pasta Garden wants to make sure that one of life's greatest pleasures is also the simplest. Enjoy the finest fish and seafood, meat, poultry, pasta, seasoned to perfection with the freshest herbs and olive oils, and prepared by Pasta Garden's talented family chefs. The Pasta Garden is sure to satisfy the whole family. Add some good conversation and the perfect bottle of wine, and you'll want to send a postcard. Where enjoyment comes alive, the Pasta Garden.
3 centuries ago, Beaufort settlers rubbed elbows with pirates in taverns that stand to this day. Then horse and buggy travel was hardly a romantic touring option. Yet across centuries of change, Beaufort has always served smiles and southern hospitality. So come nibble on appetizers, swing by for ice cream, lunch al fresco at Bayside cafes, relish a sumptuous seafood buffet, or celebrate with those you love at the restaurants of the Beaufort Hospitality Association. Smiles and southern hospitality are always on the menu.
The Alligator Grill. Inside the warm, lush dining room, experience a casual and relaxed environment. Committed to offering only the highest quality seafood, produce, and specialty meats, the Alligator Grill provides a place for all to come. Whether in the family dining room, adult-only room, smoker's grill room, or the outdoor Charlestonian courtyard, there is always a sense of belonging. The Alligator Grill, a casual mood with sophisticated food.
WHHI has made finding the perfect restaurant easy. Rather than navigating 278, surfing the traffic circles, or asking the closest stranger where he likes to eat, you can sit back and relax and watch Channel 3 at 6 o'clock each and every night to Discover Hilton Head. Discover Hilton Head is a program dedicated to showing our locals and visitors some of the best places to dine in the Lowcountry. Try some of the very best restaurants around and truly discover Hilton Head.
Homes, lots, villas, and timeshares. You will find them all on the Island Real Estate Tour. Hilton Head Island's only television show dedicated to bringing you the island's finest properties and top real estate agents. Tune in to Channel 3, 9 a.m., noon, and 11 p.m. That's more than 20 times each week. Whether you are buying or selling property anywhere in the Lowcountry, you will see it all on the Island Real Estate Tour.
Welcome back to Books and Authors. We're talking with John Jakes, and the book is Charleston. John, I want to ask you one more question about the infamous General Sherman. It's been said that when he got to Savannah, and obviously had some rage to do it to Savannah what he did to Atlanta, he didn't, because Savannah welcomed him somewhat with a key to the city and let he and his troops have somewhat of a good time for 2 months. Is there some validity to that?
I think there is. You've got to remember that Sherman and his men had been on the march since quite early in the summer. The crossing of Georgia, which had a terrific psychological effect on the South, was difficult. It was not easy for the Army, and the Army needed some time to rest. The mayor and the other city officials, as I remember, and I've been reading about this recently, in Savannah, were smart enough to realize that the war was all but lost, and that they might as well not antagonize the Army and they get their city burnt to the ground. Plus it was Christmas. You know, all of these things working together, and the Army needed a rest, and rest they did. And there are stories that some of the members of the military had a pretty good time in Savannah.
Do you believe Charleston, and for that fact the South, has fully recovered from the ravages of the Civil War?
Yeah, I think pretty much so.
And I say that not only in a physical sense, but an emotional sense.
Well, there are still people who talk about themselves as Confederates instead of Americans, you know, and there's always some of that lingering. But I think if the nation could be said to have recovered as a whole, I'm not sure we have. I'm always at great pains in Charleston and the North and South books to point out that the bigotry was as bad in the North as it was in the South. The Northerners, almost to a man, made it very clear that they were fighting for the Union and for freedom for the blacks, but they weren't fighting for black equality. No way. So the Northerners were not all angels, and I think we still have some of that division in this country, but except for the really diehard people, as far as I'm concerned, the war is over. It's an endlessly fascinating subject. It will never cease to fascinate us, but I don't think that, except in the most extreme cases, the animosity lingers on. Particularly, look at all the northern move-ins in the South. You know, the joke down here is that the Yankees go home, the damn Yankees stay.
They've allowed you and I to stay.
That's right. So,
it's been said that Reconstruction ended with the Spanish-American War, and reunification started with the First World War. Is that accurate, you think?
Oh, I would say so.
It's a long time.
That's a long time. I'm always struck by General Joe Wheeler, who was one of the most ardent and one of the most ferocious Southern cavalry officers, who was very active in the retreat through South Carolina ahead of Sherman. He also led the troops valiantly as a coming out of mothballs, so to speak, in the Spanish-American War, fighting for the United States in Cuba. So there had been certain, to me, he is always an example of the healing that did take place. Joe Wheeler was an ardent Confederate. He was also an ardent American when he was called in the Spanish-American War.
Now, as a Northerner, or an indigenous Northerner, you write a lot about the South. A lot of novels are set in the South.
Right.
Is there a reason for that?
Well, I think there's a basic, I know that there is a basic fascination with the southern side of the story around the world. I have found that from the acceptance of the books and the television series and the North and South pictures. When the war between the states is discussed in Europe or in Asia, it's always with the focus on the South, because the South was the more romantic, I guess you would say, of the two sides. They always scoff at the Yankees as an army of shopkeepers and mechanics, whereas the Southerners were horsemen and rather dashing, and a lot of dashing cavalry leaders on the southern side. So I think people relate to the southern ambiance, the southern experience, a little more than they do the northern side, setting aside the ideology entirely, just the trappings.
Now, as far as interest in history in this country, Civil War history for that matter, with so many people arriving in this country after the Civil War that really the roots trace back to the turn of the century, how do you get more interest in American history for some of these people that might feel that this is irrelevant in their lives?
Well, that is a problem, and that's one of the reasons I do what I do. I know I reach people through the medium of fiction that would not ever be reached, let's say, through a conventional history class in school, or indeed through nonfiction scholarly studies, however worthy. So part of my job is to dredge up the past, our common past, which has shaped the way we live today, and through fiction, sort of spoon feed it to people.
Mm-hmm. Are your books part of any curriculum that you know of?
Well, they are. They're used as supplementary reading many places throughout the country. I hear from teachers who use them.
Now, I wanted to ask you, and I'd be remiss if I didn't, they brought up the turret to the USS Monitor this week. The Hunley was raised a few years back. What's your feeling on raising these relics and taking them from where they rest?
Well, I think we should. If we can get a hold of them, I think we should. They are part of our history, and it's better that they can be looked at than not.
Any feeling as far as desecration to them, as far as being a grave, basically, and some people may put that in the same light as the footsteps of the World Trade Center. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I suppose you could argue that, but the war is long enough time in the past, and these are unique artifacts rather than a place that I would come down, if you forced me to, on the side of bringing them back and letting people see what they were really like. I mean, the Hunley is an incredible thing to look at. When you look at that tiny, tiny submarine and think of those men inside pumping with their feet, and the candle is going down and their air is running out, and how brave they were to do that. And that's kind of makes the raised submarine a teaching instrument. So you can argue both ways, but I would come down on bringing the relics back.
With the your North-South series, the trilogy, that was made into a successful miniseries. Right. Any aspirations with Charleston to do the same?
Well, first of all, I've been doing a lot of interviews for the book, radio interviews for the book around the country, and I've been asked that several times. I do try to remind people that when producer David Walper optioned the book, North and South, the first book in the trilogy, it took him 18 months to get a deal. In other words, to get his production money and a go-ahead to film from ABC. That's a year and a half. That was at a time when a lot of money was spent on miniseries. A lot of money is not spent on miniseries these days, especially on costume pictures. So I'm not of the opinion that anything is going to happen overnight.
Have you ever written a story and envisioned it becoming a motion picture?
No, I never have. And once in a while some snide newspaper reviewer says, well, this was obviously, you know, one of these books is obviously written to become a miniseries or to become a television movie or something like that. And I said, you know, my attitude is, come on, these people don't know the realities. If I were going to write something with a great potential for film and try to ensure its success, I would write a novel that took place in one living room in Malibu, California, today. Excuse me.
Now, can we expect, you left some room in Charleston, can we expect a sequel possibly?
No, I don't think so. I think this pretty well rounds it out. Reconstruction, which I wrote about in the third novel of the North and South trilogy, is an interesting period, but it's so tangled politically, and not very much overtly dramatic happened. So I don't think there'll be a sequel.
We're going to take a break right there. We'll be right back with John Jakes.
Where else can you find the finest food, clothing, entertainment, and fun this close to Hilton Head's finest beach? Caligny Plaza by the Sea is the fun place to be. Start early to hit all the kiosks and shops Caligny by the Sea has to offer. Start your day off right with breakfast or lunch at some of Hilton Head's most popular restaurants. Grab something quick or sit and relax at one of Caligny Plaza's 20 eateries. You're sure to find something to satisfy even the pickiest of eaters. For dinner, enjoy delicious cuisine in a romantic atmosphere, or something simple for the whole family. Be sure to check out some of Hilton Head's finest clothing stores at Caligny by the Sea. Get all decked out in the latest island gear, or pick out something for that special occasion. From swimwear to evening wear, you'll be surprised at how fun and easy it is to dress the whole family. Come find out why locals and vacationers alike say that Caligny Plaza by the Sea is the fun place to be.
WHHI has made finding the perfect restaurant easy. Rather than navigating 278, serving the traffic circles, or asking the closest stranger where he likes to eat, you can sit back and relax and watch Channel 3 at 6 o'clock each and every night to Discover Hilton Head. Discover Hilton Head is a program dedicated to showing our locals and visitors some of the best places to dine in the Lowcountry. Try some of the very best restaurants around and truly discover Hilton Head.
At the new Pineland Station, there's a jewelry store to remember, featuring ruby, sapphire, emerald, and tanzanite creations. A beautiful selection of gold sea life jewelry, 18-karat platinum and 14-karat gold and sterling silver jewelry, and a large selection of cultured and South Sea pearls. Personalized attention and custom design. It's all yours at Heritage Jewelers in Pineland Station.
Homes, lots, villas, and timeshares. You will find them all on the Island Real Estate Tour. Hilton Head Island's only television show dedicated to bringing you the island's finest properties and top real estate agents. Tune in to Channel 3, 9 a.m., noon, and 11 p.m. That's more than 20 times each week. Whether you are buying or selling property anywhere in the Lowcountry, you will see it all on the Island Real Estate Tour.
She has beautiful eyes. You're either born with them or you're not. And that little V thing at the top of her mouth, it's perfect. And her skin has this glow to it. It's totally natural. She just washes her face and goes.
Last year, Merle Norman taught almost 2 million women how to look and feel more beautiful with a free makeover.
And she says, I don't know anything about women.
Come in today for your free gift with purchase of 2 or more Merle Norman cosmetic products.
One of life's greatest pleasures is enjoying the perfect meal in the right atmosphere with friends and family. The Pasta Garden wants to make sure that one of life's greatest pleasures is also the simplest. Enjoy the finest fish and seafood, meat, poultry, pasta, seasoned to perfection with the freshest herbs and olive oils, and prepared by Pasta Garden's talented family chefs. The Pasta Garden is sure to satisfy the whole family. Add some good conversation and the perfect bottle of wine, and you'll want to send a postcard. Where enjoyment comes alive, the Pasta Garden.
There's one grocery store on the island that's still a family neighborhood store where friends come to meet and shop. Piggly Wiggly stocks an excellent variety of fresh fruits and vegetables right from the farm. An extensive selection of domestic and imported wines, fresh seafood, and certified Angus beef. Also, don't miss Piggly Wiggly's full-service bakery and deli, offering Boar's Head meats and cheeses. Owned and operated since 1985 by Tony and Jean Poitras, Piggly Wiggly in Shelter Cove Plaza.
Welcome back. We're chatting with John Jakes. John, one of your last novels, Homeland, was one of the first set primarily in the 20th century. Right. Can we expect more of that from you, especially considering the sweeping events that we've been seeing of late?
I hope so. I did do a sequel to Homeland called American Dreams that took the fictitious Crown family up to about 1920, up to World War I. And now the readers are beginning to ask for another one, and I have a couple of more in mind. So I've always wanted to go further in 20th century history, and somehow I keep getting pushed back into the 19th. But I hope so, yes.
Is there any thoughts of incorporating, say, European history or perhaps even Mid-Eastern history?
Well, of course, when you get into the 20th century, more and more American history and European history are inextricably combined, and indeed Middle Eastern history, because in the early part of the 20th century we were already busy looking for oil over there. And I haven't really stopped to think about how I would actually organize the next book about the Crown family.
Are you at liberty to talk about your next project?
I don't have one. My next project is a good long rest, Chris. I tell you. This was an arduous book to do, and it took about a half year longer than I expected. So I typically lay back for 3 or 4 months and let the dust settle before I decide what I'm going to do.
Now, the Art Center premiered a couple of your plays.
Yes.
A Christmas Carol and Great Expectations,
Right.
2 adaptations of Dickens plays.
Charles Dickens, yeah.
Now, you have a fascination with Dickens. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Dickens stands for me as the highest. He's the highest figure in the pantheon of English language novelists. I don't think he's ever been surpassed. He's right up there in my estimation with Shakespeare on the stage. His work also adapts very easily to other media, to films and plays. You witness all of the adaptations that have been done over the years. He loved the theater. He was apparently a good actor, a very competent director. He always staged amateur theatricals for his friends. And so I have just sort of taken advantage of that and done these adaptations as really as labors of love.
And his plays, unlike Shakespeare, not to go against Shakespeare, but they seem more adaptable to today's society.
Well, that's right. I mean, A Christmas Carol never goes out of style. That fundamental message of human redemption is ageless.
Now, you've also acted in a couple productions at the Art Center. You didn't think I was going to touch on this.
Yeah.
Including Barefoot in the Park, George Washington Slept Here, and Tribute.
Yes.
And you also directed Love Letters and Oh Coward.
Right. Well, actually,
John, are you an actor or are you an author?
No, I'm an author, but I'm like my the man I admire most, Mr. Dickens, who was a professional author but couldn't give up the theater. Yeah, I did all of those shows principally at the old Playhouse before it became the Art Center. But I think my days as an actor are over. I don't want the time.
Do you consider it more, in your estimation, is it more difficult than writing, or is it just?
It's you know, somehow to me acting is a young man's business, you know, or a young woman's business. I have sort of lost interest in it. I've done it. I'd rather direct. I'd rather write for the stage. I'd rather see something go together that I've had a little more direct hand in. So I've sort of given up the acting bug has been squashed long ago.
As far as plays, anything that we might see from you at the Art Center in the next few years?
Nothing new. No, I had enough of a hard time putting Charleston together that I really am off for a while, and at least until early next year.
You also worked with a very well-known opera house up in Connecticut.
Yes.
The Godspeed, which is well-known review house for Broadway plays.
Right.
How long have you been involved up there with?
Well, it was a matter of fact, just last year, about this time, that they did a production of Great Expectations as a new work, and we have sort of hoped that it would go on as a musical, I should say. Basically the show that was seen down here, except considerably rewritten. We'd like to see it go on, but I don't know whether it will. It's a very large, expensive show to mount. There were 24 people in the Connecticut production, including the kids, and the preference today is for shows that are somewhat smaller, 12 people, 14 maybe. So whether anything will happen it's hard to say.
Now, what are, in your opinion, some of the greatest challenges to the arts today? And I'll say that on a local level and on a national level.
Well, I think they're about the same regardless of local or national, and that's the shrinking dollar of audience support. There are so many demands made by worthy charities on the average citizen. Also, the amount of money that business can plow into the arts has greatly diminished. Priorities in business have shifted from what they were 10, 12 years ago. So those challenges make fundraising for the arts constantly necessary. And it's well for people to remember, it can't be said too often, that an arts institution, whether it's the Self Family Arts Center or anywhere else, is not a profit-making operation. If anything, it generally loses money. That's the nature of the beast, because you're always running to catch up with the budgets. And so it needs the conscientious, all arts institutions need the conscientious support of good citizens everywhere, not merely on Hilton Head.
Is the local interest where it should be on Hilton Head?
I think it's there. One thing we don't have, that, for instance, in our days in Chicago, we would have found more readily, is a tax base. We don't have heavy industry paying a lot of taxes and sitting on the sidelines by the dozens waiting to be approached. We have a thinner tax base here, and we have a more difficult time for that reason, I think, raising some money.
Now, you are going to receive the prestigious Reflection Society Award in October, which is given to those whose service has been extraordinary. With all the awards you've received, what does this mean to you in a local?
Well, it's a great circumstance, because it is the Art Center, and it's one of the two causes I've championed down here. Everybody has their own personal projects, and the Art Center and the public library here, seeing the new library built, have been very important to me, because that's where my heart lies. And so I'm very gratified and was very pleased when they announced that award at the Art Center.
It's a fantastic award, and I also understand that you will be doing a book signing that's going to coincide with that.
Yes.
The only one on Hilton Head. That's right. And October 18th at the Art Center.
That is correct. And that was rather a hard decision, because there are many good book retailers on Hilton Head, but I thought this was the time we could raise money for the endowment program at the Art Center. That's just under development now. And I will donate all my royalties from every copy we sell. And believe me, I get a good chunk of that retail price of that book. So we're looking forward to selling them by the handful. I did this about back in '89 with California Gold. It was very successful. People were buying books by the 6s and 7s for Christmas. So we hope that'll repeat.
Sounds great. Well, I want to thank you for coming. Thank you, John, for being our guest today.
Pleasure.
The book is Charleston. Was released this week. Fantastic book. And we encourage everybody to visit John on the 18th of October at his book signing. For books and authors, I'd like to thank Starbucks Coffee for making this possible. And I am your host, Chris O'Donnell. Good night.
WHHI has made finding the perfect restaurant easy. Rather than navigating 278, serving the traffic circles, or asking the closest stranger where he likes to eat, you can sit back and relax and watch Channel 3 at 6 o'clock each and every night to Discover Hilton Head. Discover Hilton Head is a program dedicated to showing our locals and visitors some of the best places to dine in the Lowcountry. Try some of the very best restaurants around and truly discover Hilton Head.
Inca USA, the Lowcountry's largest supplier of unique handcrafted home decor, is having a store-wide sale. Everything is now 25 to 50% off. Inca's exciting shopping atmosphere is fun for the whole family. With unique gift ideas from around the world, Inca USA's furniture, wooden masks, sculptures, and jewelry offer a wide range of possibilities. 25 to 50% off everything in the entire store. This includes furniture, sculptures, masks, and all other home decor. Inca USA is located next to Bed Bath & Beyond.
She has beautiful eyes. You're either born with them or you're not. And that little V thing at the top of her mouth, it's perfect. And her skin has this glow to it. It's totally natural. She just washes her face and goes.
Last year, Merle Norman taught almost 2 million women how to look and feel more beautiful with a free makeover.
And she says I don't know anything about women.
Come in today for your free gift with purchase of 2 or more Merle Norman cosmetic products.
One of life's greatest pleasures is enjoying the perfect meal in the right atmosphere with friends and family. The Pasta Garden wants to make sure that one of life's greatest pleasures is also the simplest. Enjoy the finest fish and seafood, meat, poultry, pasta, seasoned to perfection with the freshest herbs and olive oils, and prepared by Pasta Garden's talented family chefs. The Pasta Garden is sure to satisfy the whole family. Add some good conversation and the perfect bottle of wine, and you'll want to send a postcard. Where enjoyment comes alive, the Pasta Garden.
Homes, lots, villas, and timeshares. You will find them all on the Island Real Estate Tour. Hilton Head Island's only television show dedicated to bringing you the island's finest properties and top real estate agents. Tune in to Channel 3, 9 a.m., noon, and 11 p.m. That's more than 20 times each week. Whether you are buying or selling property anywhere in the Lowcountry, you will see it all on the Island Real Estate Tour. Where else can you find the finest food, clothing, entertainment, and fun this close to Hilton Head's finest beach? Caligny Plaza by the Sea is the fun place to be. Shopping for those special gifts for those important people in your life? Caligny Plaza by the Sea has something for everyone. From gifts and gadgets to gourmet goodies, pursue the many fine specialty stores and kiosks at Caligny Plaza. Caligny Plaza by the Sea boasts many services for the long-time resident and visitor alike. From barber shops to photo booths, groceries and liquor, to beach gear and bike rentals, Caligny Plaza has everything you need to make your day easy and fun. For the little ones, Caligny Plaza by the Sea has so much to see. Try face painting or hair braiding, or sing along with the band. Enjoy shops and stops especially for you. You'll see there's so much to do. Come find out why locals and vacationers alike say that Caligny Plaza by the Sea is the fun place to be. The Alligator Grill. Inside the warm, lush dining room, experience a casual and relaxed environment. Committed to offering only the highest quality seafood, produce, and specialty meats, the Alligator Grill provides a place for all to come. Whether in the family dining room, adult-only room, smoker's grill room, or the outdoor Charlestonian courtyard, there is always a sense of belonging. The Alligator Grill, a casual mood with sophisticated food.
3 centuries ago, Beaufort settlers rubbed elbows with pirates in taverns that stand to this day. Then horse and buggy travel was hardly a romantic touring option. Yet across centuries of change, Beaufort has always served smiles and southern hospitality. So come nibble on appetizers, swing by for ice cream, lunch al fresco at Bayside cafes, relish a sumptuous seafood buffet, or celebrate with those you love at the restaurants of the Beaufort Hospitality Association. Smiles and southern hospitality are always on the menu.
Bosley Real Estate Management is pleased to be able to offer our professional management and janitorial services throughout the South Carolina Lowcountry. Bosley Janitorial Services specializes in providing a top-notch commercial janitorial service. Mrs. Teresa Crum, our Superintendent of Janitorial Services, is known throughout the island for her high standards and spotless housekeeping. Fully insured and bonded, Bosley specializes in protecting your real estate investment.
Let us make you one of our spotless friends.
WHHI has made finding the perfect restaurant easy. Rather than navigating 278, serving the traffic circles, or asking the closest stranger where he likes to eat, you can sit back and relax and watch Channel 3 at 6 o'clock each and every night to Discover Hilton Head. Discover Hilton Head is a program dedicated to showing our locals and visitors some of the best places to dine in the Lowcountry. try some of the very best restaurants around and truly discover Hilton Head.